Okay, we're at video number 2 for this Unit 11 review, and we're looking at specifically accounting profit versus economic profit. And the second sort of quasi-major concept, there's a few questions on this, nothing huge. So let's talk about it. Accounting profit, what is it? Accounting profit is what we tend to refer to as just profit in the real world. It's your revenue minus explicit costs. So let's define explicit costs. Explicit costs are out-of-pocket costs. So I actually have to pay that money to somebody. That's an explicit cost. So if the money is actually being paid, it's explicit, right? So if you can track that, if somebody else is getting the money, then you know it's explicit, and that's a part of that. So revenue minus explicit costs is our accounting profit. Economic profit is a little different than that. Economic profit is revenue minus your explicit costs, yes, but also your implicit costs. What do we mean by implicit costs? We mean your opportunity costs. What have you given up for this choice? So oftentimes this is foregone wages. So I could have been working here. I could have been doing that. But instead I started my own business, right? So we talked about that with the ice cream business. The guy quit his job as a lawyer, making X amount of dollars in order to open an ice cream business. Well, he could have been making X amount of dollars as a lawyer, so that is considered opportunity costs. It doesn't actually have to pay somebody to not be a lawyer, right? There's no money transitioning, but it's a better understanding of what something actually costs in the real world, or in the economic world, I should say. Right, so that's implicit cost. Foregone rent is something that could be that, like instead of owning this building, I could be renting it out to somebody, right? They could be paying me a monthly rent. Or foregone interest is a big one, right? So instead of cashing out this bond, I could have put it in the bank and gained 10% interest over the next year. So that 10% interest I could have gained, right? That missed opportunity would be an implicit cost. That pretty much hits all the major ones. Foregone wages, foregone rent, foregone interest, the things that you could have gained if you had been doing something else. Normally those be listed out in pretty clear ways. Important to note that when economic profit is zero, then accounting profit is positive, right? So oftentimes we see it as you see zero economic profit. You're like, whoa, that's really bad. Actually, it's not. In a real world, that means that's a normal profit, right? We call that normal profit because basically there's no incentive to leave. There's no incentive to bring more people in. So the market isn't getting bigger or smaller. Instead, it's remaining just as it is. And you're still taking home a normal profit because your revenue minus explicit cost still holds weight, right? So that's normal profit when economic profit is zero. And we actually have a normal profit principle. And it's this idea that in an efficient market with few barriers to entry, economic profit will always be zero, right? So let's say you're the only person that sells ice cream in a certain neighborhood, right? Your economic profit are very high because you have few opportunity costs, right? And then other people see that and they're like, whoa, I could be making money by selling ice cream in this neighborhood. Apparently everybody in the neighborhood wants it. Right, so they're incentivized to enter that market because of the high economic profits. Like, wow, opportunity costs of not selling ice cream are really high, and so they enter that market. But when they do, when you're competing against other ice cream makers, your economic profits fall and your accounting profits fall. Everything falls, right? Until you're maxed out with the number of firms, right? And everybody's sharing those profits equally. It's like a traffic jam, right? The idea of there's a fast lane over here. Everybody's making profits over there. Well, if there's that fast lane, then we're all going to move into that lane, right? But when we move into that lane, we slow that traffic back down until it comes to a stop again. Same idea. There are great opportunities that attract people into that market. Because there are no barriers to entry, they can move into that lane, right? But when they do so, they redistribute the profits until we're back to an economic profit of zero. When we're at zero, there's no incentive to bring more people in because the profits aren't that much higher than what they're doing right now. And there's no incentive for people to leave because they're still making a normal economic profit. It's not negative yet, right? So that's the normal profit principle. When we have efficient marketplace, economic profit will always, always, always be zero, which means there'll be a normal accounting profit. Okay, so let's take a look at this example over here. We got question 6 says, suppose that a business incurred implicit costs of $200,000 and explicit costs of $1 million in a specific year. If the firm sold 400,000 units of its output at $300 per unit, its accounting profits were Well, first I have to find total revenue, right? Because that's how all these start, with revenue. So revenue is going to be price times quantity, 300 times 4,000. And that equates to $1,200,000 in revenue. Okay, now I have to subtract my explicit costs to get my accounting profit. So my explicit costs are 1 million. So 1,200,000 minus 1 million means my accounting profits are going to be 200,000, right? So accounting profits are 200,000, which gives us only one option. That's option B here. But let's calculate the other one just for fun. So the other one says, okay, 200,000, my implicit costs have to be included for economic profit. My implicit costs are 200,000. Explicit 1 million, implicit 200,000. So I subtract 1,200,000 from 1,200,000 of revenue. My economic profits are 0. So B is your correct answer. And notice, even though I'm making money, $200,000, my economic profits are 0 because of the foregone wages, foregone rent, foregone interest that I've encountered. Okay, final thing you need to know for this particular video is profit maximization rule. This is the idea that you can maximize your profit, right? Revenue minus costs, by simply producing up until marginal revenue, or the additional revenue I get for producing another unit, is equal to marginal cost, right? So I will produce until that is true. So, for example, you have it here. We've got marginal costs there, marginal revenue. We'll talk about why those are shaped that way in a little bit. But I won't produce that quantity of 2 because my marginal revenue is greater than my marginal cost. There's more profits to be had there, right? But I won't produce that quantity of 5 because my costs are greater than my revenue. So why would I produce that? So I'm going to produce where marginal revenue and marginal costs are equal, which is going to be my equilibrium, at a quantity of 4. So the big takeaway is always produce until marginal revenue is equal to marginal costs. That will maximize your profits. All right, hopefully that was helpful.